So today I am out at Spirit Falls and we're in Washington, and it's right outside of Cook, right off the Columbia River Gorge. This waterfall is just beautiful. The color of the water is just great blue. It was more of a scouting trip than I was hoping to come away with some really amazing photos. I've never been here before. The trail to get down is one that is really steep. But I brought cleats and I brought hiking poles just in case, and luckily the hiking poles was all I needed. So just a basic composition. There's a mist bow happening over here on the left-hand side. You see it, it's right over, let's see, it's right over in here. Hopefully it's going to show up on the video. I think it will. So the bad news is this rock down here at the bottom is stealing the show because it's so bright. And the forecast was supposed to be cloudy and overcast all day, fog, all of that. So I wasn't too concerned about the time that I would get here. But that's simply not the case. It's totally blue skies today, and the sun is just coming right in and hitting that rock. So might hang out just a little bit to see if the sun's moving. Since it's winter or close to winter, the sun's low enough in the horizon that it won't take long for it to hopefully get out of the way and take that really hot spot off of that rock. So one thing I wanted to do today as well is I got a new iPhone, the new iPhone 12 Pro, and it's got the wide angle lens, and it's got the normal, then it's got a telephoto, a 2x zoom. And those focal lengths compared to a full frame, basically it's about a 13mm wide angle, around a 24, 23 for the 1x, and the 2x is right around 50mm or so. So I wanted to see how it compared to my 60 plus megapixel Sony A7RIV. Now, they may not be a totally fair comparison, but the cell phone technology is getting so incredibly good that I think that it's going to do really well. They always say that the best camera is the one that you have with you. So I've got the cell phone attached to the top of my hot shoe mount on the camera, and let's take a look and see how they stack up as far as just with the setup. So the field of view is about the same. I've got my 24 to 105 on the camera, and it's at 24mm, and the iPhone is basically at 1x, and the field of view is just about spot on. So taking a shot with the standard app in the camera with no just tapping it. Now you'll notice on my my screen here I've got some blown highlights. I had to overexpose it a bit just so you could see the edges because it's pretty dark. So obviously, let's take a look at the photo that the iPhone produced. And that is, not a lot of shadows. It's pretty bright. And let's see what I can do on the A7R4. So here's the iPhone 12 Pro shot. This is the 1x lens. And if you're wondering how I achieve the silky smooth water like a long exposure, I'll explain that a little later. But overall, the photo came out great. You can see the mist bow. You got great detail, contrast. It looks really nice. There is some movement in the branches, but overall it came out really well. This is the file from the Sony A7R4, and I like this one better. Obviously, I think it's a better photograph. I did my best to edit the iPhone and the Sony identical so that it would be an apples to apples comparison, but I was able to control the flow of the water and the look of the water that I wanted much more precisely, as well as the look of the water that I wanted, below the falls. The mist bow is prevalent, the rock is not too hot, and I don't have any movement in my branches. So overall, the Sony comes out ahead, but between the two, they're really close. So now I've got a vertical composition kind of worked out, and I really like the way the light is hitting this tree over here. And you see it better if I do this. So the tree up here, I like the light that's hitting it and on the bark of it right there. I like that a lot. And I'm just getting like, this is my composition. F16, ISO 50, and I'm having to bracket the photos, unfortunately, simply because the sunlight is hitting those bright spots on the fall, and there's no way around it. So the iPhone is doing a great job of just doing an HDR in camera, sort of. Benefits of my Sony, obviously, is the fact that it does RAW, and right now the Apple is shooting JPEG. So here's the iPhone 12 Pro photograph, and this is at 2x, using the 2x lens. There's some banding in the water. The tree foliage the detail is not as crisp, but overall it came out really, really great. And again, I did my best to post-process both files the same so that they would look very, very similar. Here is the Sony A7R IV. I love the look of the water. Again, I'm able to control that shutter speed and the overall look of the photo much better. The detail is very crisp, and the green and the tree, the leaves and stuff look fantastic. Although the Sony is a superior file in every regard, when you're looking at it as a thumbnail or in Facebook or something small, the iPhone looks fantastic. So the main problem when you've got just sunlight like this on a waterfall that's kind of, it's in spots but not in other, you're having to like bracket your shots, but you do that by altering your shutter speed usually, which totally messes up the flow of the waterfall. That's why it's much, much better to do your waterfalls all in shade or in overcast days, because then you don't have to fight that light at all, and you can just concentrate on getting the shutter speed you want to get the look in the water that you want. As it is, with part of the waterfall in some direct sun or dappled sunlight, which is almost worse, it makes it extremely difficult to come away with something that works. So the light's gotten a lot better. It's not any light hitting the falls at all. It's just a little bit in the background. So now I'm able to just take two shots, one for everything, the water flow, get my shutter speed like I want, and then I just take another shot just for that really bright background in the trees way back up there. So that makes it a lot easier to compensate and to take care of it. One mistake I did make, and then I caught it, was I didn't have a microfiber. I had no idea how much mist was coming off of the falls, even because I'm so far away. My polarizer was covered in mist, and I would have got home and been really sad if I hadn't noticed it. So here are the last photos. This is using the wide-angle lens, and I don't know what happened, but for some reason the iPhone 12 produced awful. It just came out terrible, blotchy, over posturized. The HDR on it just went insane, and it looks awful. Meanwhile, the Sony photograph came out fantastic. Obviously, I could control all the aspects of it, and it just came out looking great. This is probably my favorite photo of the falls from that day. I really like the colors and the blue, and then the way that the falls flow up all the way to the background. Now, for those that were wondering how I did that long exposure in the iPhone, it's actually pretty simple. You have to make sure that live view is on when you take the picture, and then after you do that, all you have to do is swipe up and then swipe over to long exposure, tap it, and voila, there you go. It creates the long exposure for you. All right, made it back to the truck, and it wasn't too bad. At the end, it kind of does level out just a little bit. But I hope you enjoyed the video and the comparison between the iPhone 12 Pro and the Sony mirrorless camera. It's very true that the best camera is the one you've got with you, but given the choice, I'll take my Sony any day. Anyway, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next week.